Hello, it's Mike P from RoadTrailRun. Today I'm going to be taking the La Sportiva Prodigio Pros out for their final test run before my full review. But first I'm going to take you back in time to my initial test run on my trip out to Oregon. So before I get too soaked, let's go! This is La Sportiva's Mountain Trail Super Shoe. And what I mean by that is they wanted to make a super shoe that is not specifically designed for flat, runnable, moderate terrain as a lot of the carbon fiber plated super shoes out on the market are now. They really wanted to maintain the mountain focus that they have as a brand. So the main feature, or should I say non-feature of the shoe, is that it doesn't have any plate at all. There's a nitrogen infused TPU midsole used here. There's no Strobel board. There's a foot liner glued directly on top of the midsole, so there's no Strobel board in between. They really want to maintain that ground feel, especially without the carbon fiber plate in the mix. They're using their friction white compound here, so this is their tackiest rubber. Very deep lugs here, full coverage rubber here. They really wanted to maintain that mountain heritage that they have in some of their more burly, beefed up trail models. Another departure for La Sportiva here is the toe box. These are not the La Sportiva toe box that you're used to. This has plenty of width through here. I just love this. I love a wide toe box. It really enhances the ground feel. I don't feel squeezed at all. I would say the shape is almost perfect. There's space to the side of the big toe, rounded out in the front. Great width across the forefoot. I may even dial this in. I left it kind of loose. This is my first test run, so I'm going to try to probably dial this in a little bit. One thing to note is I am wearing a US 10.5 in this, so I know La Sportiva sizing has run a little bit small, short. This is definitely the case here. I was able to try on some samples at the running event. 10.5 is the fit for me. It's perfect. I'm typically a true to size 9.5, so I would go up to 10 for ultra sizing. Here 10.5 is perfect. I would consider these for kind of any distance type of run. As far as the upper goes, this is, I believe, a TPU coated power wire, what they call here. It's highly breathable. You could kind of see through it. I've been running through some pretty muddy stuff here. I haven't gotten anything into the shoe itself, so it's been pretty great. The ankle collar here, one of the best that I've seen. I mean, the Catamount Agile is a good one. Of course, the Tecton X comes up higher above the ankle bone. This one, if you're gonna have, say, an ankle collar that's gonna be on the lower side, this is really stretchy. I had no problems getting into this, by the way. That's not a problem. It's completely sealed. It's a knit collar. It's highly flexible. I just love this in a trail shoe. It's amazing. Another standout feature that I'll point out is the tongue. This is a booty style upper, so there's no separate tongue. It's all integrated into the knit collar, but you've got these vertical bolsters across, bolsters running lengthwise along the tongue portion of this booty upper, and they're pretty thick. They're very thick. They're not soft at all, so that is just perfect. This is one of the best designs I've seen because I like to have my ankle locked in. I like to have my heel seated. I like to have this top of the foot, this part of the foot really dialed, and sometimes I'll leave this a little bit loose. But with these bolsters here, man, I could really like lock it in, and this is no pressure at all on my foot. So you could adjust that tension as you need it. I haven't seen this type of, I've seen you know, some tongues that have some padding built in. But this kind of vertical orientation and the way that it's really thick, this is one of the best tongues I've seen. No doubt in a booty design, but even for any type of running shoe design, this is really great. I'm dialed here. I love it. So I think this shoe is just going to be an absolute hit for La Sportiva. If you're in the market for a trail super shoe, but you're not crazy about carbon fiber plates, you're not convinced about carbon fiber plates actually working on the trails, this is just a spectacular shoe. I think La Sportiva is gonna kill it with this one. This is only my first test run. I'm actually out in Oregon. I'm out in some crazy rainforest type terrain over here. Not right at this moment, I just went through. Very dynamic, very energetic. The midsole is a core of supercritical nitrogen infused TPU inside of a supercritical nitrogen infused EVA. Bouncy, dynamic. There's no plate here. There's no firmness. There's no stiffness. 6 mil drop works great, especially as I'm going up a little bit of an incline here. I think they do 6 mil drop across the Prodigio line. This one, the regular one, and the Max coming out later in 2025. The width in the toe box works perfect for me. I love it, especially with the foothold. Booty upper is great. I definitely prefer a wider, spacious toe box. Could be problematic if a shoe doesn't have good foothold. This one does, so it's great. If you have a narrow foot, I would say it could be a bit wide for you. If you thought the regular Prodigio was wide, this one does have a little bit more width. La Sportiva was nice enough to send me a test pair of the regular Prodigio. I'd never run in that one before. I know it's been out for a while. We've even reviewed it, but they sent me a test pair for comparison's sake. So thanks for that. But with that shoe, it feels more like a regular shoe, I would say, in the sense that you feel like you're standing on top of a midsole, you know, and the uppers holding you onto it. And this one, midsole sidewalls come up a little bit. It wraps around the foot a bit more. So I have more so have the sense that I'm kind of in the shoe versus, you know, riding on top of the midsole. Part of that is definitely the booty upper, also the lack of the Strobel board compared to the regular Prodigio, and for that matter, most other trail shoes. As far as flexibility and agility, especially moving uphill there, you saw a lot of flex in the forefoot. I was able to kind of pick my way through some rocks, a bit of slush, puddly sections pretty easily. Felt very confident, even though it's not icy, but it's a little bit slick. So I felt really confident picking my way through there. As far as stacking up against the other super shoes, the three that I've kind of talked about and called out recently, the Adidas Speed Ultra, the North Face Vective Pro 2, 3 is coming out, Hoka Tecton X3, those are the three top trail super shoes in my mind right now. So as far as how does this stack up, all three of those shoes have some form of a plate. The Adidas has energy rods. This shoe doesn't feel quite as fast as those shoes. It certainly has the best fit, the best and most secure fit. So if you're thinking of this shoe in terms of all mountain, all terrain, ultra race, and you highly valued the fit and the security of the upper and don't necessarily value the stiffness of a carbon plate, maybe it's not as runnable as some of the typical Western US races, maybe you don't need that explosive propulsion, this is definitely in the ballpark. Like I said, the TPU is highly energetic, it feels fast, it feels quick on the run, you just don't have that extra oomph, you know, from the carbon plate. That's definitely a thing in plated super shoes. So that's not there. You have a much better fit. You have a much better feel. The outsole is probably superior to, the outsole is definitely superior to all three of those shoes. If you're in an all mountain environment, ultra race scenario, and traction is paramount, this would be the one to pick for that. Price is definitely a consideration too. I believe these are $195. The other shoes are in the range of $250 plus. So you're taking out that carbon fiber plate, but you have a stout kind of racing shoe here, and you're coming in at under $200. So it's definitely a great value. As far as everyday running, if you don't mind spending that little bit of extra compared to, say, some other daily trainer shoes, you're getting a lot of bang for your buck. So if regular trail running shoes are coming in the $130 to $160 range, and this one's coming in a little shy of $200, and you're getting the performance of almost on a super shoe level, if not at a super shoe level in certain conditions, this would be a fantastic training shoe. Honestly, if I was in a position where I didn't want to reserve this for racing, I would love to use this as an everyday training shoe. I don't really like the carbon fiber on an everyday basis. I tend to reserve those for racing. So having almost that level of performance with the flexibility, I really think that's helpful for day-to-day running to not be in a carbon fiber plated shoe. These are kind of in the middle ground as a high value, high performance training shoe, or high value, almost as performance super shoe. All right, I'm back at the house, dried up, warmed up, had a cup of coffee. I wanted to wrap this up by doing a little compare and contrast between the regular Prodigio and the Prodigio Pro. So looking at both of these shoes, the midsole specs are the same. You've got 34 under the heel, 26 under the forefoot for a 6mm drop. The difference here is you've got what they call X-Flow speed here and X-Flow foam in combination. This one has their regular X-Flow, which is a nitrogen infused EVA. Here, like I talked about in the ride and on the run, that X-Flow speed is a TPU nitrogen infused within an EVA carrier, which is also nitrogen infused. So on the run, this one definitely feels a bit more energetic, softer, a little bit bouncier. The TPU gives it generally a lot more energy than the regular Prodigio. The regular Prodigio feels, of course, nice and stable. The toe box is wide relative to other La Sportiva models. I do think the Prodigio Pro is even a little bit wider. I didn't have any issues with either of these shoes. They both felt comfortably wide. I generally like the fit of this upper better though. One other difference that I did talk about, maybe you could see a little better here, is that this midsole does seem to wrap up above the foot a bit more. So I feel like I'm really connected and in this shoe as opposed to with the regular Prodigio riding kind of on top of it, which is fine. I have no issues with the ride on this shoe. I really like it. I think it's a really comfortable, easy day shoe with range for some real mountain running due to the outsole that they have on here. But this one I just feel a little bit more connected. I feel like I'm seated inside of the shoe. As I put my hands in here, I can feel the kind of sidewalls wrapping around. Really love the fit and feel of this shoe. I talked about this a lot on the run. Quickly comparing the outsoles here, we've got the friction white version here. This is La Sportiva's stickiest compound. I don't know if there's any difference between the outside lugs and the inside lugs. It feels the same to me. Here you've got friction red version, and they specifically say that you have a more durable ring of exterior lugs, and on the inside is stickier for traction. You'll also notice that the outsole does wrap up around a little bit more here on the ball of the foot, and also on the medial side. Something of a difference between this one. Gives you a little bit more protection, probably a little bit more control. I'll flex both of these shoes here. The website says that the Prodigio has a PU coated flow film, whereas this Prodigio Pro has a PU speed film. It does feel noticeably flexier in this one. I don't think either one of them would be in the category of a full rock plate or anything like that. They're both quite flexible, but as you can see, the Prodigio Pro is very flexible. So that speed film may be something in terms of just bonding the two layers of foam, maybe between the TPU and the EVA. That could be what that's for. Here I did notice, of course, on the run, more firmness in this shoe. It could be due to that flow film plate being a little bit thicker, perhaps a little bit more protective. Also, this is full EVA. You don't have that TPU in the middle of the foot. It's going to feel a bit of a firmer ride. One thing to call out here, and I've heard this personally from runners, not just online, people have complained about this collar being a bit high. I was told in person at the running event by La Sportiva that they've lowered this ankle collar from some of the initial versions. I also followed up with them. They told me it was an inline update. It was done pretty early on. All of the models that are for sale anywhere right now should have the lower collar. So if the high collar was something that bothered you, and that's something that definitely I'm sensitive to in my testing, I've had plenty of shoes where I've literally hacked out this collar or hacked out the heel area literally with a razor blade to make the shoe runnable. So, and I've had no issues. It actually feels quite low to me. So none of this has bothered me at all. So if that was an issue, maybe you got a very early pair when it first came out. Obviously the shoe's been out for a while. It seems to have been remedied. So just quickly recapping the weights and the prices of these shoes. This regular Prodigio comes in at 9.9 ounces, 280 grams, and this one comes in at 9.6 ounces, 272 grams. You have a lighter version here, a little bit more energetic. This is really a racing shoe with some range to be a really fast training shoe. And if you don't mind paying the extra price, this one comes in at $195 and this one's listed at $155. Now that's a $40 difference, and personally I think this is a $195 super shoe that punches very close to the high-end super shoes on the market that are in the range of $225 for the Adidas shoe, $250 for the North Face shoe, and $275 for the Hoka Tecton X. You're getting very close to these shoes at a lot lower price. And in comparison to this one at $155, if you were thinking of perhaps a racing shoe or even just for training, I would spend the extra $40 because I think the shoe is so good. The TPU is really, really great. It feels a lot more energetic than this shoe. This shoe is great. It's solid. It's stable. The rubber is probably more durable. You'll get a lot of miles out of this one. I don't see this outsole being a problem at all. They both have 4mm lugs, by the way. The fit of this upper is just, for me, impeccable. This is probably the best booty fit that I've ever had in a trail shoe. It just wraps my foot perfectly. Probably the best knit collar out right now. Love the Hoka version, but of course it's higher. In terms of low, just at and below the ankle, this one is the best on the market. So that's a wrap on the La Sportiva Prodigio Pro. I think they have a big winner on their hands here. A mountain shoe, borderline super shoe, competitive with those runnable terrain super shoes on the market, but far more stable, far more secure, probably better performing in true mountainous, rugged terrain here. Across the board, La Sportiva just crushed it with this shoe. So I hope you enjoyed this review. Stay tuned to Road Trail Run for more reviews. Check out my playlist of trail reviews. I'll be doing the written review on the RoadTrailRun.com website. There'll be additional comps. Let me know if there's something you'd like to see specifically, or if you have any other questions about the Prodigio Pro. Fantastic shoe again.